When you sit down and watch a NASCAR race nowadays, you'll notice right away that it's not much movement throughout the field. It's become extremely difficult to pass, and there's many reasons for this that have been brought up numerous times by fans and people in the industry. Everyone looks at the Generation 7 Cup car as the main culprit for the poor on-track product we see, and I don't disagree with them. This car has made the racing worse than just about every single track type besides mile and a halves. The horsepower is low, the car makes so much grip in the corners. It brakes extremely well, and it's insanely aero-sensitive. Running in someone's wake has become so bad that once you get within 4/10 behind a car, you completely lose the balance. You see this right here? You see how the trailing car can just pull up to someone in the middle of the corner and actually have the ability to upset the car in front of them? Yeah, those days are long gone. Gen 7 defenders won't like me saying this, but this car has taken it out of the driver's hands and made it more about how great your engineers are. Also, having a great pit crew is more important than ever now because they're the ones that's going to pick you up spots. Tires is another thing people point towards as to why the racing is poor. It's nothing like watching practice and hearing the commentators say that the tires aren't wearing out at all. So after hearing that, you start to prepare yourself to watch a track position race because Goodyear can't seem to bring a tire that actually wears out a ton without it blowing out every 20 laps. But NASCAR has kind of put Goodyear in a tough spot because with this next gen car, the tires are very wide and the speeds they carry into the corners are putting so much load onto the tires, and the big reason for that is the horsepower to grip ratio imbalance. They're not lifting that much and it's so easy for them to put the power back down. There's no wheel spin because of the low horsepower and how much tire these guys got underneath them, and that makes it really easy for these guys, which means less mistakes are being made. So the car isn't great and the tires are not wearing out, which are the main go-to reasons as to why the racing product is suffering. But there's something else that's contributing to the poor product we see on track, and that's SMT data being shared. What does SMT stand for? Sports Media Technology. What is SMT? It's real-time telemetry data, and the technology behind this is pretty crazy. These cars are equipped with sensors on them which collects a ton of telemetry data. This data is then transmitted to NASCAR and it's all kept under their mobile data center that travels with them for all 38 events. Then eventually race teams and broadcasters get access to this data, and that's how we're able to see all of the inputs from the drivers: throttle, brake, steering, and etc. I won't lie, it's pretty damn fascinating what goes into how real-time racing data is delivered to everyone, from teams, broadcasters, and us the fans. With all of this data present to the teams, it's been so much emphasis on studying your competition, and it's easier than ever now. When drivers pull into the garage, they're handed this tablet by a crew member, and what's displayed on that tablet is SMT data. You can see what every single driver is doing, from the line they're running, how much throttle and brake they're using, steering input, and you got the ability to pinpoint to the exact area of the track to see what that driver is doing. Say for example that you want to see what a driver is doing with their inputs in turn 3 at Pocono. All they have to do is just select that part of the track and select the driver they want to study. Y'all know the virtual ghost car that Fox loves to show during qualifying? This is what teams are able to see as well, except we're not getting literally all of the information that the teams are getting because OEMs want to store a lot of that data and study up on it. Whatever secrets a driver has that makes them good are out there for the world to see now. Sometimes a driver wouldn't even come in for a change. They'll just pull up the fastest car, head back out there and try to replicate what they just seen from that driver's SMT. If I'm a driver, I'm not thrilled with this. It just makes it impossible to separate yourself from the competition. It'll be like in the NFL or NBA where two teams are about to square off and before the game, they're looking at each other's playbook. That's some bullshit. Whatever secrets you have that makes you good should not be shared. It was learned not long ago how the way Denny Hamlin drives short tracks is pretty unique. When you look at how the way he uses the brakes, it's like a heartbeat trace when you look at his SMT, and when people found out about this, it blew their minds. Yeah, it's kinda cool learning what makes him so good at the short tracks, but his secret is unfortunately out there for all of his competition to see. Kyle Larson has been one of the best at running the wall at Homestead for many years. He's dominated many races there because he's had something figured out at that track for a good minute. But I kinda noticed his advantage in being so fast at running the wall has shrunk in recent years, and you can chalk that up to his competitors being able to look at his SMT data. Kevin Harvick figured something out at the old Atlanta that led to him being so dominant there. I think Mike Joy is the one that coined the phrase Harvicking, where Harvick will paint that yellow line all the way around the track and was able to do it better than anybody and it worked for a while. Everyone couldn't understand for so long what made him so good at that place. You had spotters trying their best to feed their drivers as much information about how Harvick was navigating around Atlanta, and guess what? That should be for only Harvick and his team to know. To me, you shouldn't be able to just pull up information about what makes these guys so good behind the wheel. It just takes something away from the sport. You work so hard to figure something out that lends you to having an advantage over your competition just for them to see every little thing you're doing, and this tends to make everyone drive the same. These drivers do a good job adapting. They're gonna figure out how to replicate what others are doing. Next thing you know, they close the gap. If you're someone that's fascinated with technology, you'll find SMT data to be pretty cool until you realize that it's actually hurting the on-track product. Ever since the Gen 7 era, you hear about how close the times are. Less than half a second separates 1st to 25th most weeks, and with everyone so close on times, it creates difficulty passing. So if everyone is driving the same, how do you separate yourself? The driver can't make a huge difference like in the past. What about the car? What can you do with the Gen 7 car? Honestly, nothing. This is a spec car. Everyone gets the same parts and pieces from the same distributor. You can't develop shit. You're handcuffed. So good luck trying to find the advantage. Don't get me wrong, the cream still rises to the top, but it comes down to more so execution. The best teams usually got the best pit crews and best crew chiefs, and these elements are what makes the difference more than ever now. So a spec car plus shareable SMT data doesn't equal the best on-track product. You would think more drivers would be more outspoken about this in a negative way, but surprisingly, there's not many negative comments about it. If anything, a lot of drivers have actually embraced it. The only negative comment I could find is from Kyle Busch a few years ago, where he basically said he spent all of his Cup career learning to drive a race car as fast as possible. Now a young driver can see everything the fast guys are doing, and 9 times out of 10, they replicate it. He doesn't view that as a positive for the sport. And Kyle Busch is right. If you're someone that's been around for a while, like a Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, you had to go out there and figure out how to be fast the hard way. You didn't have SMT telling you where you're lacking pace at. These rookies that's coming in like Carson Hocevar and Ty Gibbs can easily go out there and be fast because of SMT. And don't get me wrong, these guys can drive a race car really well. They've proven they can. But it's not a big learning curve to be fast because the information is out there for them to study. When I say SMT shouldn't be shared, that includes not sharing it even with your teammates. I'm sorry, but if I was a race car driver and my teammate came up to me and asked if they can look at my SMT data, I'll tell them hell no. What you thought this was? Yeah, I sound like an asshole saying that, but my teammate is still a competitor I'm trying to beat on the track. Sharing setups like what air pressures I'm running and shit like that, yeah, I'm fine with. But you're not about to see exactly what I'm doing behind the wheel. I couldn't imagine drivers from way back in the day tolerating SMT because a lot of those guys just seem way more blunt than today's drivers. If anything, I could have seen them going to NASCAR voicing their frustration about it. Do you really think Darrell Waltrip wanted people to know what made him so successful at Bristol? I could see him being the most vocal out of anyone about SMT. I know someone like Ward Burton was glad that nobody found out what made him so good at Rockingham. Or Jeff Gordon being a master at Martinsville. Look at Jimmy Johnson being the king at Dover. If these guys wanted to reveal what made them good after they retired, then fine. It should be up to them after all. You don't really have that option now because your secrets are shown as an active race car driver. I want NASCAR to not allow SMT data to be shared. I understand this is something that's always going to be present in motorsports and is going to continue to be expanded on, but letting this data be shared to everyone shouldn't be allowed. Is it easier said than done? I don't know, but I hope they find a way to not have SMT be shared amongst the garage. But will NASCAR really do it even if it is easy? I say that because NASCAR has been shooting for parity for years, but they've made it really obvious since 2018, and it goes back to the beta version of the 550 package that they ran at the All-Star race that year. They liked what they saw and decided to put us through absolute hell for the next 3 years and ran a package similar to that, all because the cars were quote unquote closer. And if NASCAR sees any signs of that, it's considered a thumbs up in their book. Dumbass. Then they were going to carry this race package to the Gen 7 car until they finally listened to everyone expressing how terrible this idea was and finally ditched it. But then you look at how the way they approach the Gen 7 car. Like I said, it's a spec car. Everyone's driving the same thing, and this led to everything being closer. Factor in SMT data, and that just makes it more extreme. NASCAR likes this, but I think everyone is starting to come to a realization that parity isn't this great thing that everyone imagined for many years. Eliminating shareable SMT data would be the first step to hopefully improving the on-track product. But we can complain about this all we want. It's up to what NASCAR and the OEMs want. So give me your thoughts on SMT being shared and just SMT in general. Do y'all mind it being shared, or are y'all like me and want to see it no longer be shared? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna go ahead and roll up out of here. Y'all have a good one. Peace.